ban is blamed. It came into force because of a plot to use a fake iPad bomb. The Guardian quotes a security source who says the plot to bring down a jet with explosives hidden inside a fake iPad was discovered. They said that the device was almost indistinguishable from the real thing. No other information was disclosed by the source, such as which group had planned the attack and when or where. The US Department of Homeland Security said terrorist groups have been seeking more innovative methods to attack planes, with one spokesperson saying, "I understand why a tablet-sized non-metallic bomb might pose a serious threat, given Al-Qaeda's long-established expertise in the area." And the spokesman did say he was confused about the scope of the ban, and he also questioned whether there's any ulterior motives behind it. The spokesperson went on to say, "One problem is that the British and American restrictions differ, despite the exceptionally high level of intelligence sharing between the two on Al-Qaeda and on counter-terrorism generally." Other Western Allied countries have not undertaken a ban at all, and this raises questions about why they have arrived at different conclusions, and specifically suspicions as whether the unstated political factors may be influencing the Trump administration. So it's just the US and the UK at the moment, but France is considering joining the ban, but has not yet made a decision. The ban has caused some confusion. I was at Luton Airport a few days ago, and people thought they were affected by flying to Europe, which they're not. There's certain countries which I'm going to go through again in a moment. But there's been another update on the what you should be aware of when it comes to it, so I'm going to read through it now. The following peripheral devices designed to be used with either a phone, laptop, or tablet, and exceeding any one of the following dimensions: 16 centimeters length, 8.3 centimeters wide, and 1.5 centimeters depth, will not be allowed in the cabin, and this includes keyboards, power cable transformers, and external hard drives. Also, not allowed in the cabin or in the hold either, spare or separate device batteries and portable power sources. Existing safety regulations mean that spare batteries and portable power sources can no longer be carried on board aircraft operating from effective routes either in the cabin or hold luggage, which is going to confuse people. As always, the government always gets the cop out when it says passengers should contact their airline for further information. But which flights and routes does it apply to? Well, the measures apply to all inbound direct flights travelling to the UK from Turkey, Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, Tunisia and Saudi Arabia. As I said, if you're on one of these routes, you should consult your airline for up-to-date information. And after the break, there'll be more on this equipment ban. You can follow me on Twitter @holiday_hut. So I'd started talking about the recent electronic equipment ban on certain flights to the UK and the USA. And the International Air Transport Association, IATA, has called on governments to urgently find alternatives to these measures from the US and the UK. IATA represents some 265 airlines and comprises around 83% of global air traffic. The organisation says that the current measures are not an acceptable long-term solution to whichever threat they're trying to migrate. Even in the short term, it is difficult to understand their effectiveness, and the commercial distortions they create are severe. IATA is calling on governments to work with the industry to find a way to keep the flying secure without separating passengers from their personal electronics. The spokesperson said there is a need to maintain public confidence in the security of the global aviation industry, which safety and security operates on an average of 100,000 flights a day. IATA is saying that with these measures by the UK and the USA in place, passengers and member airlines are asking valid questions. Why don't the US and the UK have a common list of airports? How can laptops be secure in the cabin on some flights and not others, including, it says here, flights departing from the same airport? IATA says there must be a way of screening electronic equipment efficiently. The current situation is not acceptable and will not maintain an all-important confidence in the industry or for travellers. IATA has also expressed frustration with the process used by government to put in place the security measures, and it says it is woefully lacking. The industry came together quickly to implement the new requirements, and that was a challenge, says the spokesperson, as there was no prior consultation and little coordination from the governments. IATA has long called for better information sharing on and coordination on security measures between governments and the airline industry. They accept that governments have primary responsibility for security, but IATA says they have the priority of keeping passengers, crew and aircraft secure. And to do that effectively, intelligence is king. And what this means is that information should be shared by governments and the industry. It's the only way to stop, says the spokesperson, terrorists before they get near an airport, let alone an aircraft. IATA insists that cooperation between industry and government will yield better results. They're saying that airlines don't want to access state secrets, but if the airlines understood the outcomes government want, they can help with the operational experience to deliver the result quickly and efficiently. Challenges to aviation security were highlighted in Resolution 2309 of the UN Security Council, and this has tasked the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, to develop a global aviation security plan. IATA says the need for such a plan has been made very clear by wide gaps in the measures taken by governments in recent days. States need to lend their full support to ICAO in developing this security plan quickly. And even before that can be achieved, there is an early opportunity to make real improvement on international cooperation on security. In May, the ICAO member states will consider amendments to Annex 17 of the Chicago Convention, and this would require more information sharing. Have you been caught up with this electronics ban yet? Was you banned from taking a laptop before you got home because you were away when the measures were made? Have you seen with your own eyes things that make you worried about insecurity at airports in the Middle East and North Africa? Please do let me know your thoughts on this at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. With this electronics ban in the travel trade industry, one of the things that came up more about than security was insurance and whether anybody's property will be safe. There was a video going around a couple of weeks ago from a regional airport in the UK where, let's put it this way, the suitcases from the hold were handled a little bit roughly. And of course there's always the risk of some light-fingered people taking stuff out of suitcases. So insurance was a big concern. Where Alliance Global Assistance UK has promised to cover insurance claims made because of loss of or damage to electronics checked in within the hold luggage by UK passengers flying to the UK from Turkey, Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, Tunisia and Saudi Arabia. The insurance company has confirmed its policy after the British government announced it would be banning passengers from flying from these countries and taking this kit in their hand luggage. Usually valuables, which does include electronic devices, that are carried in the hold are excluded from travel insurance cover as they have to be in the customer's possession at all times. Cover from Alliance Global Assurance for loss or damage to electronic items will be up to the limits provided by the customer's existing policy and subject to all other terms and conditions. But the company is advising customers to read the terms of the policy carefully to fully understand the limits provided. In addition, the insurance company says that a property irregularity report, a PIR, must be obtained from the carrier to support any claims made. These are usually obtained from the airline's dedicated baggage desk within the baggage claimed area. Alliance Global Assistance said that other items, electronic equipment and valuables which are not included in the restrictions, such as cameras and MP3 players, but have been checked into the hold, will not be covered in accordance with its policy wording.
If you're going abroad by plane, boat, or the family car. If you're going abroad for pleasure, or business. There's one essential thing to do before you go. Check the expiry date on your European Health Insurance card. You can renew it up to 6 months before it expires. Visit nhs.uk/healthcareabroad or call 0845 606 2030. Bon voyage!
You can keep up to date with travel news and leave me a message at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Slightly more cheerful news now, and EasyJet has put its winter schedule release out there, and you can now fly across Europe up until the 4th of February 2018. Over 111,700 flights are set to take place across EasyJet network between 29th of October and the 4th of February next year, providing more than 18.8 million seats. Of these, more than 10.7 million seats are now on sale to and from the UK on 64,000 flights. EasyJet has bases across 11 UK airports and flies to more than 800 routes on its network across Europe, the Middle East and North Africa. And some examples to get you excited. One-way fares released include Belfast to Gatwick at £24.99, Bristol to Reykjavik from £26.49, Edinburgh to Stuttgart from £34.49, Edinburgh to Paris to Charles de Gaulle from £30.49, Glasgow to Berlin from £24.49, Newcastle to Barcelona from £26.49, and London Gatwick to Venice from £34.49. Of course, all prices are subject to change due to availability and any special sales EasyJet might want to throw out there. But if you're looking at travelling with EasyJet over the winter, you can now go on the website and find the flight for you. Everybody remembers the first time they travelled and the adventures they had. Whether it's your first adventure or you're just visiting an exciting destination for the first time, trying to explore somewhere new is always exciting. Booking.com has conducted global research which reveals the 10 most popular destinations that people travel to for their first time. Over 15,000 travellers were polled from markets all over the world, but it's Europe that's come out on top. 9 out of 10 destinations were in Europe. Each location offers a variety of dynamic city experiences with something for everyone to explore and enjoy, whatever your preferences and needs. So in at number 1 is Paris, France. 2 is Barcelona, Spain. 3 is London in the UK. 4 Vienna in Austria. 5 Malaga in Spain. 6 Venice in Italy. 7 Rome in Italy. 8 is Sydney, Australia. 9 is Zurich in Switzerland, and the top 10 is completed by Berlin in Germany. If you want to see the full release of this survey from Booking.com, go to news.booking.com/en-US. And the research was conducted by Booking.com from the 1st to the 11th, the 11th of the first 17 to the 30th of the first 17, surveying 15,077 travellers across 20 markets worldwide. All the American date thing always catches me out. Just before I started to record this show, the Brexit Article 50 happened. So what's going to happen now? No idea. But of course the airline industry does have its own thoughts on the subject. Apparently UK airlines face the threat of severe restrictions on European flights immediately after a hard Brexit, and this was a warning from the European Commission. Commission officials recently told British airline representatives that under a transitional deal after a hard Brexit, UK carriers will be able to operate only direct flights between the UK and the UK. Citing, and this was mentioned in the Financial Times. Under such restrictions, airlines such as EasyJet and BMI Regional, which currently fly between destinations in continental Europe, EU, such as Milan to Munich, will not be able to operate such routes without changing their status. Ryanair could be prevented from operating intra-UK flights should Britain also impose the same restrictions on EU airlines. One doubt is whether the UK would accept European aviation law, over which the European Court of Justice has the ultimate say. EasyJet has said since last year's referendum that it intends to set up a new EU-based company with a European air operator's certificate to handle intra-EU flights. But the carrier says it expects the process to cost $10 million over 2 years. But the Commission's warning highlights the changes facing the aviation industry as the government triggering Article 50 divorce clause of the EU treaty. The moves that EasyJet has embarked on would involve establishing a new company on the continent as its principal identity, with a UK subsidiary to run the intra-UK flights. BMI Regional, which also operates intra-mainland flights, could be prevented from flying such routes from the day of Brexit. The UK government is likely to mirror